Grab A Cuppa Podcast. I'm Kat, alright, and I am your host. I produce and interview everyone, and I do it all. I have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me in my journey, and thank you so much for your support. And it's been a hot minute, hasn't it? It's been 2 years since our first episode of Grab A Cuppa, and a lot's happened. So we've had a pandemic, and where the world was closed and then it reopens again. We went to gigs and then it was closed again and then reopened again. A lot has happened in 2 years. So I've been on a personal heck of a journey, which I will discuss with my guests. So guests-wise, we have the wonderful Hawks, we have Fallen Mafia, Harriet, and also individuals that share the love for music. So I've interviewed Vicky Green and also Ross. He's known as the Petrol. So it's been a journey. So sit down, grab a cuppa, because everyone's welcome at our table. First up, me and Naomi Sanders. She is a fellow journalist, also radio presenter for ERB Radio. She is amazing. So, season 2, episode 1, me and Naomi have a chat.
Grab a Cuppa Podcast with Kat Wright.
We've been speaking to you for a while. It's just, life gets in the way, and
Tell me about it.
were you at work today?
Yes, and I'm still very frazzled from my day.
Oh, bless you. But what's your normie life like?
Normie life.
Whatever that is.
Is there such a thing?
I don't think so. No.
My normie life, just spending time with my boyfriend, I suppose. That's all it really is. I mean, we do. Then again, he's a concert photographer, so that's not normal either.
He works in the industry as well. Like,
Yeah.
when I say works, it could be like for money or voluntarily. So I'm just going to say work because it's still work anyway.
Kind of both. I mean, we work for the same publications, which is really nice. Like the other day, when he was staying with me, he was just sitting on the bed, just editing photos from the last gig we went to, which was really cool.
We'll talk about that in a little while. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
So yeah, he's really, really talented, and I just love his work. I mean, that's how we met, like him photographing a show in Cardiff when I was staying there for my master's. So
Yeah. What was your course?
it was magazine journalism at Cardiff University.
Awesome. Because that's what you're doing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, writing. I literally put in a show review as I was doing all of this, because my day life and my night life, quotation marks, kind of mix and match all together in a very weird bubble.
What was the last concert you went to?
It was Delilah Bond here.
How was that like?
Honestly, it's one of the best shows I've been to this year. It is so good, because I already love Lauren so much.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most talented people in music, not just rock or punk, just music in general, because her mind is so fantastic, and the way that she's able to speak it so thoroughly and so well through her music, and also just being absolutely dynamic on stage. Like, whew, if you can see Delilah Bond, because it's an experience that people need to have in their lives.
Me and Lauren had a chat. I think it was, oh God, a while ago now, when she launched the Delilah Bond album. So that was a little while ago now. And we're talking about women's rights and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, she's doing pretty well so far. So we'll see. I think she's found her voice
Mm.
because it was just sort of like, with the Hands Off Gretel, I get it, the whole punk and Riot Girl thing, but it didn't feel like it was her calling as such, you know what I mean? And then with the solo stuff, more like Americana, which I liked as well. I thought it was really good. And then Delilah Bomb, because it's really different, still with the kind of harsh vocals,
Yeah.
but it's not, it's more rapping than it would be punk.
I think it's self-described as like brat punk rap style, which I mean I totally vibe with no matter what. It gives me like it gives me like Prophets of Rage if fronted by it gives me Prophets of Rage if fronted by Little Kim.
Okay. Yeah, do you know, I'm just like trying to think how it would sound like, but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Like, not proper Rage Against the Machine because it's obviously talking about different things, but at the same time, like still being just as fierce.
Yeah. Which one do you prefer? Like Hands of Gretel, Lawrence, just a solo artist?
You can't ask me that. No, you can't ask me that.
If you were to rank it, who would come first?
I haven't heard enough of Lauren's own like Americana stuff, so I'm just gonna rank that at the bottom just because I haven't heard it. But choosing between Hands of Gretel and Delilah Bond, just on this podcast because I love them both. I'm gonna put Delilah above Gretel. I'm sorry, but as much as I adore like the grunge sound and the style, there's a lot more. I feel like Lauren has a lot more freedom when it comes to Delilah, a lot more things that she says, and she self-produces the record herself, so she's pretty much in the front seat with everything. So you really get that throughout the whole of the record and through Ready to Kill. In Hands of Gretel, it feels a lot like you're holding stuff back a little bit. Which is probably why like a lot of, I guess, men are attracted to Hands of Gretel, because it's like not really what everything she wants to say. It's kind of dialed back a little bit just to be a bit more commercial.
Yeah, I get that. I get what you mean. Yeah, I get that. What was the like the first band you've seen ever in your life?
Do you want to go like first rock or like first
whatever genre? Whatever.
Because first ever concert would be Tweenies, like way back when I'm really, really tiny. So it was like either Birmingham or Cardiff. If I was like really, really small. I'm 25 now, and I think it must have been around like 2000, 2001 or something like that. First like proper, I don't want to say grown up, but like when I was a bit older, I did get to see S Club as well for my 6th birthday, which was heartbreaking because I saw them and then a couple of days later they announced their breakup.
They broke up. Oh, no way.
But my first ever like proper rock, I would say, is I went to the Kerrang Music Awards in 2016. And that was during my placement from my undergrad at uni.
Was that at Coco's or?
No, it was it wasn't Coco. It was somewhere that was more East London side rather than Camden.
Oh, was it House of Vans? No, it's not.
No, it wasn't House of Vans. Definitely not. I can't remember.
I can't remember now. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think myself, but I was really excited because during my like university years I was obsessed with Asking Alexandria.
Okay, like,
proper obsessed, to the point I became a fan of them because I'm not gonna lie, Ben Bruce kind of looked like one of my mates. I was like, who's this person that happens to look like my friend? And I just, I was reading that interview in Kerrang. It was the bumper Christmas edition, because I saw that Gerard Way was on the cover, so I was like, I'm gonna take that. And I was listening to Kerrang radio a lot at that time. I still do. I still do. And yeah, I think it was the Black came on, and I was like, oh my god, what is this amazingness?
Ah,
So it's
you
a bit
know,
weird.
I wasn't really into them at the time, if I'm honest.
I've heard a lot of conflicting things. Yeah, it's a bit weird to say that I jumped on when the black happened and when they had changed to Dennis.
From S Club to Asking Alexandria.
Well, to be fair, like during that during that period of time,
Yeah.
like I saw S Club when I was 6.
Yeah.
I saw Asking when I was 19.
19. Yeah.
In that time, I had a lot of, I had a lot of discovery through my music.
Exposure to different genres of music. Absolutely.
And I'm very lucky with how I've grown up with music because I've come from a very musical family. My dad is so into his blues and jazz and also like classic rock. He's been in a couple of like rock and blues bands throughout my childhood and still like really is in touch with his music.
Any well-known bands, or is it just more like a garage band?
No, not really anything big, but like he did like some touring stuff. He even said that he performed in a prison. So
awesome.
He wasn't in prison. He performed to prisoners. But
yeah. But no, I just had some kind of like image, like Jailhouse Rock. Elvis.
Like that. I was thinking more like Guitar Hero 3, where you have the stage in the prison and then you have the fight against Slash.
Yes, I love Guitar Hero.
I grew up with that as well. I like to say my taste is very eclectic because growing up I had Nina Simone and Thin Lizzy.
Yes.
And my mum was into a lot of like adult alternative, especially female singers. That was something that was very important to her. But like I'd have Cher 1 second and then Blondie the next. So it's very eclectic. And then like obviously having Guitar Hero, I was exposed to a lot more. But also being a kid of the 2000s, I got a lot of Disney stuff. And when I say Disney stuff, more like Hannah Montana and Demi Lovato.
Yeah, of course.
And of course High School Musical, because
those two, like, do you know what? Like, Demi Lovato and Miley Cyrus.
I want
those
two
people
together.
Absolutely. I think they'd be absolutely incredible.
I've said before on my Twitter, like having the both of them as doing their more rock stuff, and I don't know, calling it the Fuck Disney tour.
Why not? I think if Miley Cyrus was to release like a rock punk album, I'd buy it. I definitely would buy it.
Didn't you with Plastic Hearts?
Yes, but something a bit more heavy.
Yeah, I agree, a bit more on the heaviness. I mean, it's very kind of glam, touch of the 80s kind of synth rock stuff, which I still really, really love. I mean, the fact that she did songs with both Billy Idol and Joan Jett, I'm like,
I know, that's mental. That is crazy. I was just like, she's just a very, very versatile artist. I think if whatever they touch turns to gold. Yeah, it's just one of those things, And did you actually? Yeah. Did you the latest from Demi Lovato?
I love Holy
album.
Fuck. Yeah, that whole album is just perfect in my eyes. And it means so much to me because, like, as a kid in 2008, like, I attended music school for 15 years. Like, I'm very lucky in that fact. Like, I realize how much of how lucky I am to have that experience and have the teachings that I've had at the school. But the people weren't always that nice.
I know.
I mean, when you go to that kind of school, you do get a load of pretentious dicks.
Really?
So, yeah, because I mean, in one sector you got everyone going off about Rachmaninoff, and then the other sector you're basically excluded because you don't have the right Polly Pocket.
Oh God, that bitch Polly Pocket.
But yeah, I have full memories of having like my iPod Nano and just like playing La La Land on constant repeat because that was my jam when I was a kid, and also like having Misfit by Amy Studd. That was like one of the songs that was crucial to me to make me like, keep, even as a young kid, keep going against all the bullies.
Absolutely. I mean, oh gosh, like bullies are everywhere. They're at school, they're at supermarket, McDonald's, I don't know, everywhere. Online. But I don't know, like as a person that got bullied, It's like, well, I grew up in the 90s. Like, well, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. So at the time, it was like you would go to school, yeah, you'd get bullied, but you come home, you close your door, that's it. There was no mobile phones. Well, there were, but only the people that could afford had them. So in that sense, it's like I would stay at home so that I wouldn't get bullied. I didn't have any, unless they come knocking on my door. But now, with all the, with the internet, obviously, social media, this and that and the other, so people are getting bullied constantly. You know what I mean? Especially with social media, like what's the first thing that you do on the morning? Like, do you grab your phone and check your social media?
I mean, the one I check immediately is either my emails, because you never know what comes through that bitch, or my TikTok page. And I'm very fortunate in the fact that like I haven't really had, I think the most hated kind of thing I've had is me shouting out Cinnamon Babe on TikTok. And Cinnamon Babe is probably one of my favorite people on the platform, just because that song Rock and Roll is Black is not only such a banger, it's a crucial banger in my opinion. And like I said, I grew up with Nina Simone and Thin Lizzy. So, Black people in music, just in general, especially in rock and metal, is not I don't know why it's a foreign concept to people. I mean, maybe it is because like I have grown up with that music, and I've done my research with learning about like Death and X-Ray Specs and everybody that's come before, and I continue to sing the praises of people like Bessie Smith and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Maybe that's just me, but like people saying that like, rock and roll isn't Black, it isn't like it started from white people. It just feels very uncomfortable to me that people would even dare to say something like that.
The thing is, a lot of people say like, oh, Elvis was the king of rock. The thing is, it came okay. It came from actually, the slaves would play music because they would create their own instruments. They didn't have better things to do. So it started with actually Black people, with the rhythm and blues. Then it started from that, and then artists got heavier and heavier. So
your rhythm and blues, gospel, country. It's a lot of the Southern sound and the Southern style because, like we said, it came from those early work songs, and people would talk about it in those blues songs. Like
Elvis took the, like rhythm and blues, and country music and mixed them together. I mean, those two things, and then there we go. That's Elvis music, let's call it, just for the sake of this conversation. But if people is like, oh, like rock music is like for white people, like
I hate people who say that music is just for this kind of person.
Music is for everybody.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just gatekeep a genre from someone or gatekeep this from another person, because that's not how life works. It's not, everything is just kind of fluid with each other, and especially music, because there's just so many beautiful sounds and styles from across the world. I mean, one of my favorite albums of this year is Rack Shack from Bloodywood, and I adore Bloodywood so much and got the chance to interview them for ERB this year, which I'm so super thankful for. And the blending of, traditional Indian sounds with metalcore and hard heavy metal is a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Yeah, did you know that they started as a parody band?
Yes. They would do a lot of covers and parodies of different things.
Rage Against the Machine, wasn't it?
They have something to do with naan. I can't remember it.
Oh yeah, is it 10-inch naan or something like that? Was it
something like that? Yeah,
might not be accurate, but I'm not gonna Google it now. It might not be accurate, but it's something like that, because I thought it was really clever.
Yeah, but imagine just like someone telling the band like, oh, you can't be into metal because it's only for white people. Like, imagine telling Bloodywood that. imagine telling like just anyone that like you
Anybody.
can't do something.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, something that I preach on daily in my radio show, pretty much in my day-to-day life, is, you know, more women and more non-binary people in music. And something that I've mentioned constantly with people, Download has not had anyone except men headline since they began in 2003. And we're nearly at 20 years. And it's like, you've done it this far, and you're going to do 4 days for your 20th anniversary. Surely you would do at least one day with someone like Hailstorm or Within Temptation or Evanescence or even Paramore.
I think, you know, just because I love Paramore, I'd love to have Paramore. But would that persuade people to buy tickets?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
I've got my ticket. I bought my ticket as soon as I left the place.
you look at
But-
Bloodstock, the second year that they've ever did it, which was in 2003, they had Within Temptation headline. So it's not as if women are going to suddenly stop ticket sales, or having a non-binary artist headline is going to demolish the music festival.
I know, but their excuse is like, oh, you know, we're not looking at either, you know, males or females or non-binary folk. We're looking at everyone in
If
general.
that was
Put
true,
everyone
they'd have
in
a headline that they'd have someone that wasn't a man headline by now. They would judge it by the music. But Andy Copping recently had an interview a couple of years back, I think back in 2015, that said women don't want to play music, they just want to sit and watch.
It did not.
He did.
Did he?
Yep.
Oh my God! What a
Yep. And someone did tell me that like he went to see Hailstorm and did not look happy throughout the whole time, was just sat there like arms folded looking grumpy. And I'm there like, you're seeing Hailstorm. Like,
I saw them. I saw them at
saw them recently in Cardiff.
I saw them in Nottingham.
Like,
Was it 3 years ago?
I saw them in Cardiff earlier this year, back in March, I believe.
All right.
They
It was the tour with In This Moment and New Year's Day.
Yeah, I remember people talking about that one. I really wanted to
It was
go.
incredible. Like I'm gonna admit I was not a big fan when they first started, just because I didn't really get it. You know, I didn't really get the music. But I think, you know, for me for me to give a band a chance, I need to see them live and see what they're like, what their show is like, what they have to bring to the table. And for me, I really liked it. I thought it was brilliant, you know, absolutely incredible. And they have just this energy on stage. I was just like, I could not stop staring at them, like playing their instruments and seeing them right in the moment and loving every minute of what they are doing. And I was just like in awe. So I can't say that I listen to them all the time, that they're all my all-time favorite, but I listen to them more now and I respect the music more because I took the time to actually listen properly. I think bands, honestly, if Evanescence were like to headline Download or something like that, because they sell stadiums. And Evanescence and Within Temptation, they're doing the co-headline concert.
Yeah, and that's like, I remember like even back in 2020, because I went to see Slipknot in 2020 and it was like, oh, it's January, it's fine, this year's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I was in Manchester.
They had the adverts for that show, and I remember I'm friends with Danae Clancy, who used to be part with Noise Cartel. She's a
big shout out.
We love Danae.
We love Danae.
But she is a huge Evanescence fan, and I remember just seeing all her posts about it, and then like obviously crying when it was postponed for legitimate reasons, and then like just the excitement of like, oh my gosh, this date is coming, it's gonna happen.
19th of November for me. To go see them. 19th of November. I can't wait. I think the last time that I saw, I've never seen Evanescence live.
I still haven't, and I haven't got tickets, and I really need to at some point, because Fallen by Evanescence was the first ever album I purchased myself, and I think I was about 15 when I got it, and the way it just helped me through one of the most difficult parts of my life. And just was, it was feeling like someone understood these melancholic, depressing feelings that I was going through. It was like someone was reaching out and being like, I am here, give me a hug, and it's kind of sad because I couldn't get it from my dad. It couldn't come from my sister. It came from music at that time. Obviously I'm very close to my dad and my sister at this point in my life, but it's when you're a teenager and you're having to go through so much shit, and there's so much pressure on you, because I feel like that's when you're like 14 and 15, that's when the real pressure on your life begins, that you have to do this and you have to go this certain way and you have to do this to get to this section and this do this next point. So having that kind of
it could go both ways, like personal and career. When you finish school and then it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to college.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do? Now you have to decide there and then. I'm just like, honestly, I never knew. I only found the exact thing that I wanted to do just in my 30s. So I'm like, now I know what I want to do, and working in this industry is what I want to do. But for a long time, I didn't know what I want to do. I would just like go with the flow. But I get the pressures of, especially when you're a teen, it's just like everyone knows, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a hairdresser. I'm going to be this and that and the other. And then there's like me in the middle, like, I had to say something.
Yeah, just kind of bouncing back and forth between what you want to do, because a lot of things that kind of go in the way of like, I mean, so at some points, I remember like listening to very weird person to bring up in this conversation. I remember hearing Jacksepticeye be kind of talking about like what he wanted to be when he was old, when that question was asked his way, and he didn't know at that point. And at that point when he was young, YouTube wasn't really a thing. So it's kind of like sometimes we don't know because what we want to do doesn't exist yet.
That's it. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I tell you something, like, I've always loved radio. I've always listened to the radio, always listen to music, everything else. But because I have awful anxiety, I've got like really, really bad anxiety. So I would, if it wasn't for online radio, I don't think I'd be able to go into a studio and do it, because of there's just so many different things. Like, well, I'm neurodivergent basically, so I've got an array of things going on, and social situations is just one of those. So I got into radio because of lockdown. That's how I got into it. But I've always wanted to do stuff, and it was just like, I want to do this. Now it's a now or never kind of thing. It was just like, gotta do it. What have you got to lose? But then if internet radio wasn't a thing, I probably wouldn't have done it.
I mean, literally same. It was like during lockdown, because I did a little bit of radio when I used to be part of a church that I had when I was growing up. I'm not part of that anymore. But it was just so fun, and I would always look forward to doing it. So obviously didn't continue. I grew out of that kind of church environment, and I remember like sitting at my desk during lockdown, and I was like, I miss doing radio. I want to do it again.
You want to do it again?
And I'm friends with Charlotte Klaber, who I used to be deputy editor for Turn It Up Louder. Sadly, Turn It Up Louder doesn't exist anymore, but she actually got me in touch with different people. Alex Holcomb, one of them, giving me amazing advice, and another of them was Ore, who used to run Rhino Radio, which
he's my fellow DJ at Total Rock.
So started doing Rhino Radio, and grew from that.
And that was no longer a thing, and then
joined ERB Radio, and actually in just under a month I'm celebrating my 100th show.
Oh my goodness. Do you know, I don't keep track. I don't even know how many I've done now.
Oh,
Like I've not counted them or anything like that because my previous Mixcloud account got hacked. I don't know why. I have no idea. So I lost everything really. I my account didn't exist anymore. It was all like on-demand shows from when I did Pure Rock Radio and obviously Total Rock. I'm coming up to my, I don't know. I don't even know when I started. So I don't even know where I started. For me, my radio journey was I saw this advert online for a radio station asking for volunteers. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know. But I just thought, you know what have I got to lose? I've always wanted to do it. And I don't know if you have this thing, but when I first started recording shows, I could not stand the sound of my voice.
oh, trust and believe. I mean, it was a little bit easier for me because I did do a bit of YouTube beforehand. I had like YouTube videos from 2015. They don't exist now because my style has changed so much. But you
People
know,
grow up.
yeah, it basically kind of in a way helped me find comfort in my own voice, if you know what I mean.
I get you. But for me, it was just like such a shock. Like, I sound like that. But because I'd done a few things prior anyway. I was a guest and some things before, but I didn't really. Honestly, I did a show with a friend from Primordial Radio. We did the show together and called One Word Wednesday Bingo, and we did that, and I was mortified. So I did not listen to that show for another 3 months. It took me that long to listen to it. I was so like,
oh my god,
I was so anxious, and I didn't know. Everyone was like, "Oh, we loved it, blah blah blah," but I could not listen to it. I couldn't. I just like had this thing, couldn't do it. But then I listened to a little bit, and I'm just like, "Oh no, I don't want to do it." And then I started to, got there, just listened to the whole thing, liked it, and it was just like, okay, I need to do this thing. And I started like recording my own voice so I could get used to it. But then my first shows, it was for Feedback Radio. My first shows, oh my god, my first link, on my show, I had to record it 40 times because I just didn't like the way it sounded. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to everything, my voice was going to be heard for the first time properly anyway as me. And I was so nervous, and 50 times. So I recorded it, deleted it, recorded it, deleted it, over and over and over again. But then it just became natural to me. It just became like, yeah, it's fine. If you say the wrong thing, it's fine. You're human,
Yeah.
I speak two languages, so things will get in the way. And so it's just like, right, okay. And so I did Feedback Radio, loved it. But then I wanted to start producing my own shows. So I wanted to get a bit more experience with different stations. So I got involved with Pure Rock Radio, and it's no longer a thing. And then from Pure Rock Radio, I started doing Total Rock. And it's been a while now, but it's been an experience. And there's one thing that we have in common is we both did Kerrang and Trained.
Yes. Oh my god, that was insane to do and still crazy to think about. My photo from that is actually my LinkedIn photo because that's the only one that looked somewhat professional.
It was so weird for me, like, because having a producer in your ear, and I'm like, having this person in your ear, and I'm just thinking like,
I mean, she was so lovely, but at the same time it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I want to say everything and everybody, and like she was like, it's fine, do as many takes as you can.
I had George as my producer.
I think I had Lucy.
I had George, my producer, and he was lovely. He was so lovely, and he talked me through it. And the thing is, like my first couple links, and my voice was shaking. It was like, I've always wanted to do this. Thank you for the opportunity. And I was shaking. And honestly, like I'm sat on my desk and everything, like I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'm like this, like counting to, like from 5 to 1. It was shaking. Because I tell you what, like it's something that I've wanted for a very long time.
Same. And the fact that we both got to do it, and we did it.
We did it. Yes. It was crazy. I listened to everyone's shows, and when then it got to mine, I'm like, oh my God, everyone else sounds so much better than me. Like they're not going to ask me back ever.
I was the last one on that time, and I was like, oh gosh, that's even the worst. They're going to just got me at the back because they don't like it. Oh God.
I thought to myself, like, oh my God, mid-morning. Mine was like 11 while 12 or something like that. Mid-morning, I'm just like, oh my God. And what was the point? Like, send us 20 songs, but they only play 5. And I'm just...
Oh, I know. I think it's A, to see how eclectic you are with your tastes, and B, to really get you kind of like a full thing of it, which I'm a little sad with, I'm not gonna lie, because mine was full of one of my favorite things to talk about, like emerging names in rock and metal. And
they
feel
picked none of mine. No one signed an underground artist, only the artists that were like big at the time.
They picked the Paramore, Miley Cyrus. I think the only like somewhat unknown name that they picked was Muddy Brook.
Muddy Brook.
I was like, yes, thank you, I at least got one.
At least. I had so many like unsigned and stuff like that. Like my mates from Pulverize. I love them. They're great. Like partycore music. Love them. They're great. And so I put it on the list and everything. And I was just like, oh, gutted. Absolutely gutted. They didn't get picked. So I was a bit upset about that. I don't know if you saw this, but the BBC Radio 1 were looking for presenters.
Yes, I've entered
Christmas.
that myself.
Yeah.
And so far they have listened to my demo, but I haven't heard anything else with it. So I'm just there like...
nothing. Right in the nails. I did. Yeah. I submitted and I thought, do you know what? You never know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that happened with the Kerrang Unsigned. You just don't know until
you just don't know. I did it and I thought, well, it was only 20 seconds anyway, where you just say things about you or tell the story or whatever.
Yeah, I just kind of did the demo, and basically all I did was explain my show Forever Forte and my kind of love for music and my journey with music. And I sent it in, and then I kind of like looked at, like, because I looked at the kind of guidelines with the demo and the tips that they had, and I feel like I should have said, like, you always submit something and you're like, oh God, I should have done something else. I should have done this, should have done that. I was like, did they want me like a demo of my actual show or just to hear me talk? And I'm like, oh God, I have anxiety, by the way. So a lot of things go in my head.
It's okay. Look, I know it. I know how it's like. My brain just goes from one thing to another. Like
it goes from 0 to 100 in like...
Oh, yes. And yes, I submitted. Basically, before submitting anything, this time round, because I'm very impulsive, I just do it, send it, it's done, okay, right, I'll wait now. I did it. I researched it, researched how to do it, because I'd never done a demo before. Basically, when I'd sent, material, I'd send the show that I already done, and everything was fine. Anyway, I'd never done a proper demo before. So I went, rehearsed, and, what can I do, blah, blah, blah. So my demo for Radio 1 was basically, like, explaining as well, like, what I do normally, when it comes to radio, and a bit of my personality, and also supporting women, non-binary people, emerging bands, that sort of thing, just like you do with your show. But the only difference that I would say between my show and your shows would be that mine is a bit more heavy. Is a more so it's a bit more from metal to the extreme. So
yeah, I do heavy. Like my classic rock. I'm growing up with classic rock, so that is my That's my safe space. I did see a tweet today that was like, because me having grown up with 2010s, of course I'm a YouTube baby, and having all the drama with the Try Guys. Someone was like, if you're this upset with the Try Guys, you wouldn't have survived with all the drama with Fleetwood Mac. And I'm just there like, I found out about Fleetwood Mac when I was quite young. Trust me, I still don't know how I did survive.
What happened? I don't know.
Oh, Fleetwood Mac. Oh my god. Basically, the whole album of Rumors is one massive shit show. I'm sure there's still a documentary that the BBC did all about it, which is an amazing watch. Just going through like all of the songs and everything. But essentially, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham used to be a couple. They pretty much broke up after Rumors came out.
Wasn't she underage?
I can't remember.
Because when she started in the band, she was like 17.
I think she was underage when they first started dating, because they did have a blues project together before they joined Fleetwood Mac.
Right, okay.
And also Chrissy McVie was with another member. I can't remember.
I'm going to trust you on this.
She was married to one member, but then basically having an affair with the lighting guy.
Americans are weird.
Well, they're Brits as well. It's half British, half American.
Well, Brits, people are weird.
And Mick Fleetwood was going through his own issues. Yeah, I think it was the bassist, because his surname was McVie as well as Chrissy McVie. But basically the big hitters from Rumors, Dreams, and Silver Springs were Stevie telling Lindsey what she was thinking, and then things like Secondhand News, Go Your Own Way were Lindsey to Stevie. Chrissy McVie's stuff were like You Make Loving Fun and Songbirds. Were not about her husband. No, it was about the guy that she was banging. And then Mick Fleetwood, to try and get everyone's spirits up and don't stop, just being like, come on guys, have a bit of fun here. Even though he was going through his own shit, he was like, come on, let's actually make a record together and at least have a little bit of fun without fighting. I don't know how they're even like still performing. I know they have actually recently kicked out Lindsey Buckingham.
Right.
But yeah, as much as I adore Fleetwood Mac, like Rumors is one of my favorite albums of all time, despite all the madness. I don't know how they even function as a unit, let alone able to make music at this point.
I think if there were a band that was starting now, with all the stuff that happened back then, if it was now, I don't think they'll last very long.
No.
Despite talent.
I mean, it's very interesting because like Rumors was the big one that came out in 1977. And they had been going on for years and years beforehand. And it was only really when they brought on Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham that they really made it the big time, especially with songs like Dreams and Go Your Own Way.
Yeah, I think like those songs, especially like if you heard them as a child, when I say you, I mean generally, and then you become familiar with them, you don't really realize where it comes from as such, if the band is like, if they're good people or bad people, and then when you grow up and you think, I listened to that, oh my god, they're bad people, like Marilyn Manson. We're not gonna go there, I don't think.
I think with Fleetwood Mac specifically, the kind of like good person, bad person is very, very muddled in all of that, because everyone was just off their tits on coke as it is, as we mentioned, starting a relationship when you're underage. I mean, I put out a TikTok myself that basically said you can love a lot of like the classic rock bands like Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. You can like their music, but you have to acknowledge that what they did in the past was shit. Like having underage groupies is fucking disgusting. Unless like you can listen to the music but also acknowledge that they did shit things in the past. A lot of people don't want to do that. They want to have like this kind of like rose tinted glasses sort of thing.
I respect those bands. I respect, that they've been around for a very long time and this and that and the other, but I would not pay you know, like £300 to go see Rolling Stones.
No, I mean it's
No,
only
I like
recently,
them, but I wouldn't.
it's only recently that they actually stopped playing Brown Sugar, which is honestly such a disgusting song. I don't know why it was even written. I don't care that it was in like the 60s and 70s.
Still does not make it right.
Yeah, it shouldn't have even been thought of, let alone written.
I think sometimes people don't really realize what it is behind certain song lyrics. What I mean is, actually, me and my partner were discussing this, okay? Whereas we, as a family, we listen to a lot of heavy music, and then there's the other side of like our families that don't, and they're just like, oh, it's just nice. They're not saying anything. You just scream. And I'm thinking, okay, I get it. They're saying things in the way that you might not understand. But if you go back and, you know, really hear the lyrics and read the lyrics, you will get the meaning. There's a emotion. There's something there, you know. Whereas there's so many like pop groups. Yes, they're a lot of fun and whatever, but we were actually got this. I was telling my husband about the Venga Boys, and you know, and I was telling my daughter's 10, and I was telling her about all this different music. It's like, oh, you know, these were like school disco music back in my day. So you would listen to this stuff. And then I went to the lyrics and I'm like, oh, boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room. Let's spend the night together in my room. And I'm thinking, what? And us at like 5, 6, 7-year-olds going like, yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God, how did we listen to that and didn't understand? I mean, look, for me anyway, like I grew up in Portugal, so we didn't have a clue what was being said anyway. But here it's different, isn't it? So I'm thinking, oh my goodness me. And people say like, yeah, you know, like rock music, you know, they're all druggies and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, okay.
Or I just think of when people are like, complain that rock and metal people do drugs all the time and it's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. First of all, only half true. It's only the sometimes that they're on drugs. And second of all, I like to think of Bill Nye's character from the seminal classic that is Love Actually, where he says, remember kids, don't buy drugs. Become a pop star and you get them for free.
That's good advice.
I mean, the fact that he explicitly said pop star as well. I mean, even thinking back, like one of the presenters of Blue Pizza was kicked off because he did coke. Like
to be honest, secretly they all do. Yeah. Imagine doing like Blue Pizza sober.
Like, right? just do a line of coke off the tortoise.
Right.
Mate.
That's what it is. Do you think they're all sober? No. You know when they come on screen like, hello, children.
I think you have to be on something. At least, I think mushrooms would probably be the best kind of drug to be on if you're a kids presenter, because you already got the craziness and like bright colors everywhere. It'd just be more. You wouldn't be so freaked out by it already.
Right. So yeah, I think they're all on something.
Yeah.
But I like that one. I like that. Yeah, just remember. I actually watched it. I don't really watch like many rom-coms.
I'm not a big rom-com person myself. My sister is a lot more. I know she actually gave me Sleepless in Seattle one year, and I've still never seen it.
I only know Love Actually because my mum said to me that one of the, I think it's Love Actually, might not be, I'm not sure now, but one of the characters, his love interest was a Portuguese lady.
Yes, it's from Love Actually, yeah.
Right, okay.
Colin
so
Firth.
Yeah. So my mum was like, oh, you have to watch it. There's a Portuguese lady in it. And I'm like, okay. It's just how people, like, when I say I'm Portuguese, people expect me to know Ronaldo. Like, I don't know him. You know, like when, Americans discover that, like,
we
a British person. Do you know the Queen?
We got to stiff her corgis.
Right. So everyone just assumes that I know Ronaldo and I know everything there is to know about football. No.
No, we just do metal. And as I've known from like mainly myself in my school years, musicians don't really do sport that well.
That's why they do music instead.
Exactly.
I found, like, especially finding a lot about myself through my kids. Both of my kids have autism.
Mm.
So my son, he's 8 and he's non-verbal. And then with my daughter, she's 10 and she's she's me, basically. A lot of her behaviors are like my behaviors.
I feel like I'm somewhere that's neurodivergent. I don't want to like self-diagnose or like say I'm this and that, but I'm definitely
course.
not neurotypical. I definitely know I'm not neurotypical.
I never no. I don't know how you felt growing up, but for me, I could never fit anywhere.
No, I would always like dot around friend groups all the time, and then
Yes.
sometimes just sit by myself and just write. I would sit in like the common room and the like sixth form center and just be on my own and just write. It's probably why
Yeah, I
like,
did the
still
same.
love writing. And as much as I love like journalism stuff, my absolute goal is to publish a book and be like a novelist.
That's so funny because of you just describing while you were at sixth form and you're writing and stuff. When I was in middle school, because our education system back in Portugal is very different. I was in middle school and I would spend most of my time writing. I would write stories of like, because I was a very lonely child, I was just like, yeah, very lonely. And so I would write stories of how I wished my life could have been. It was just a way of escapism, you know what I mean? To just escape to like this different world,
I do a lot of fanfic, and I still do. I'm not ashamed to say that I still do fanfic. I mostly do it for my favorite series, Ghosts, and also with Paradise City. If you don't know, that's the TV series off of American Satan, which I love both. They're like
Okay,
both
I'm not familiar.
So they're both made by Sumerian Films, which is like part of Sumerian Records.
Oh, I did know that.
So it's basically Ash Alvidson's like self-insert as is anyway. Like there's a character that is he basically is like a young musician, but also becomes kind of like getting into like the booking agency and puts on shows and gets up on the ladder, but also is kind of like sticking in the face of his famous dad that has the very obvious surname, which Ash Alvidson is the son of John Alvidson, I think it is, who directed the Rocky films, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, they're very estranged. They were very estranged, especially, I think, up until his death, John Alvidson. So yeah, it's definitely an insert of basically being like, "Fuck you, Dad! I did so much cooler, and I'm with like the band and all of these bandmates, and they love me, and it's awesome. And yeah, just screw you, Dad."
That's it, isn't it? Oh, okay. That sounds really interesting.
I mean, I love it. It's just, even though it's so stupid, I just love it.
It's not. Like, look, if it matters that much to you, then therefore it's not stupid or daft or anything like that.
Thank you.
Exactly. And you have a very interesting collection, don't you?
Of what? Dolls or music?
Dolls.
Yes, well, as you can see, I do have the Trixie Mattel doll right
Trixie
here.
Mattel. Oh, the drag queen.
queen.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was dolls of them.
So this is a limited edition doll. It was like a very limited run of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm very lucky to have one.
Okay.
And I've kept it in box mostly because I have no room in my house at the moment. Yeah, I have so many. And going back to what we were discussing at the beginning, I took one of my dolls with me to Delilah Bond. She had a little moment on stage with Delilah. Like Delilah picked up my doll and just kind of like held it up and was like singing to it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I did take a photo of Delilah with my doll. And we have spoken about possibly having like an adult play date. Just me going up to Barnsley and just playing with dolls.
What? Have I not? Why dolls aren't just for children? I mean, look, you can see like my background, all
Yeah,
my
I
teddies.
love your little code.
I've got my teddies in
Ah,
there,
I
and
know loads
there's
of
that
people have
little
squishmallows.
panda just there. Ooh,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I see the panda. I've got the download dog at my dad's place.
For me, anyway. So that little panda is called Wanda.
Oh, Wonder
Okay,
the panda.
Wanda the panda, of course, has to rhyme, duh. And so she's my anxiety support teddy. So when she goes to gigs with me, you
Mm.
know what I mean? Sometimes I'm doing my radio shows, just there giving me support. Yes, it goes in my bag and stuff like that. Like whenever I need it, it's with me. It's small enough that I can just have it in my pocket. And it's just like, I'm not ashamed to admit that, I'm 36 years old and I have a teddy.
It's all good. Teddies are
It,
cute. I know a load of people who do have squishmallows. So
And that helps me with, dealing with social stuff because I I don't have that many friends.
neither do I.
It's just one of those things like I've got people I know, but I go to a lot of gigs on my own.
Mm.
A lot of gigs on my own. And because well, my close people aren't really into the kind of music that I am, or they just don't want to go or whatever. So I go to a lot of gigs on my own. I'm off to Parkway Drive this weekend, which I can't wait because that's so up like my street. Lorna Shore, which is very loud. Lorna Shore, While She Sleeps, and Parkway Drive. So like three of my ultimate favorite bands. So that's going to be good. But I don't really have many friends, anyone that can just be like chat. But sometimes, like, I don't know, I'm those kind of people that's like, if someone rings me, well, ring, hello.
Bing, bing.
No one rings anyone anymore. If anyone like messages me, there we go, saying, "Oh, do you want to go out for a coffee now?" I'd be like, no, because it's just too like it's just too soon. It's last minute, and I need time to prepare.
Yeah.
But I don't really have people asking me that anyway. It's like I'm meeting a friend for coffee, but we've organized this meeting like 2 weeks ago, so I could get used to it because anxiety is awful.
Mm.
I have to prepare everything that I do. But I tell you what, doing this podcast is definitely helped me. First of all, meet new people, but also get my confidence. I feel
Absolutely.
more confident because there's always this thing in the back of my head, like if something happens, like I get too anxious or whatever, I can just like turn it off, be like, oh, sorry, disconnected. Like, I don't know. But there's always this thing in the back of my head that I'm just not good enough or whatever. And then no one wants my company. But then when people want my company, I'm like, no, I just want to go on my own. Or, I don't know. Do you have any like anything that got released recently that you've enjoyed listen to listen to?
I keep saying this everywhere because people really need to know about this band because they're friends of mine, but also they are just great in general. They're from Bristol, my lovely little home at the moment. The band is called Land Captains, and they released a EP, their second EP, back in April. And when I tell you that I have not stopped listening to it because it is so good, and I keep recommending it to everyone. The EP is called Half Measures. It's 5 amazing songs. It is rock, but like it flows through loads of different things. So it's like funk rock, you've got a little bit of progressive in there. It like flows through so much, and it is like so great. Like all of the lyrics are just so expressive and very intense, like Under Another Sun, which is my favorite song. It is so powerful, and it's actually about the vocalist who's like my best mate, like her like suicidal thoughts and like I'll meet you under another sun.
That's great. I'll check that out. As for Grab A Cuppa Podcast, this is episode 1.
Ooh.
So I've interviewed so many people. We've got Hawks, we've got Harriets.
Yeah.
Yes, we have Fallen Mafia.
Yes, work.
Yeah, we're gonna have resting bitch face as well on the
We do love
podcast.
that. We love it.
And so many more. And I'd like to invite you back. We're going to talk about stuff as well again. Yeah. And is there like a band that you'd like to interview?
I've always said there's like I have a list of bands and artists that I want to interview, and they're like my bucket list. On the top of that is Nita Strauss. She is like my favorite guitarist of all time. Control Chaos was my favorite album of 2018 of all time of that year. And I am so stoked for what she has next.
Let's send some emails and see if anyone responds.
I mean, I've had one of my friends who works at the press and is like, yes, if you want it, you can just ask me. And then they're like, I want to, but I'm nervous.
Nervous.
Yeah, no. It's always that like, I don't know, maybe it's that kind of like thing of like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, you know?
I know, just shut that fucker up. No, it's fine.
I mean,
like, get off my shoulder.
For goodness sake, I can interview anyone.
Right. Yes, I would love to interview Sky Sweetnam again. She's so sweet. I love their band. Love Sumo Psycho. They're brilliant. Yeah, Season 1 was very good. Season 2 is getting just amazing. But episode 1, done and dusted.
Grab a Cuppa Podcast with Cat Wright.